Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prime Time Live with Blake Timmons and Nathan Smith. I'm Lyndon Wilson. I am the creator of The Difference. The Difference is the platform which we air these shows each and every week. We're running right now about 12 shows a week, all different topics and different hosts. And I'm going to bring in Nate, and I'm going to bring in Blake. Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Doing well. Thank you.
All right. So I called it prime time, but Nate, you're actually talking about, we're going to rebrand this a little bit because you've kind of come up with a topic that I really like. I think that people are going to enjoy that. It's going to empower a lot of people. I know both of you are really committed to that. Always have been since I've known you. And so Nate, talk a little bit about what your plans are. We'll do that real quick, and then I want to get into the topic because it's really good. But Nate, just talk a little bit about what you're talking about on rebranding, and then give us a recap of last week's show.
Sure. So there's nothing more frustrating to an audience than telling them that you're rebranding and then not telling them what you're rebranding to. And that's because, we want to get this right. We want to make it, something that really is big enough to encapsulate what we want to talk about. And, we're just kind of milling around some different show names and whatnot. And I'm hoping, Blake and I have been doing a lot of talking. I'm hoping that by next week, we'll have it ready to go with some new graphics and whatnot. But the premise is what we really want to talk about, and we talked about it last week, and this will be kind of a good segue, is really the cost of losing freedom is what we talked about specifically last week. And I'll go into that a little bit. But ultimately, we just want to provide avenues for people. We want people to see that, there's a way that business has been done for a long time. They get a job, go to college, get a job, supposedly work 30 years, hopefully get a pension, hopefully get some Social Security. And there was a time in our history where that worked more frequently, but that time has come to a screeching halt. And there's just so many people that are trapped and frustrated. And even if you like what you do, certainly being grateful for the opportunities you have is something we would never, frown upon or be upset with somebody for having that gratitude. But sometimes that gratitude turns into complacency. And it's just because we don't know what's out there. We don't know the availability of the opportunities we have. And, Blake and I work in the world of finance, but that's not, we enjoy it, but that's a vehicle for us. So we want to empower people in business, helping them get in good positions, whether it be personal or as an entrepreneur. So that's really our goal, our heart behind what we want to do. And I intentionally kind of left that wide open and vague because there's so many ways we can go with that. And so we're super excited to kind of see what happens with the show over the next, we're going to be transitioning to twice a month, and I think probably weekly here pretty quickly. So anything, Blake, you want to add anything to that or?
Yeah. So I believe that we both have a passion for helping people to see who they were truly created to be, and then helping people to be actually who they were created to be. And I know that there's, I'm sure people that are happy with their jobs and, happy with the life that they've chosen. But I also know that there are tons and tons of people that are not, and we come across them every single day. And it just seems like when talking to them, it just kind of seems like there's just this, suppression in them of something that they thought they were going to be. And then the world hits them in the mouth and they think that just can't happen anymore. And so, like Nathan said, we have a passion for just empowering people, inspiring people, reminding them of maybe what they once knew or what they once believed, that some of those things are still possible. And you just have to change the way that you're thinking. We're so surrounded by these negative news cycles and these, maybe negative coworkers that have also given up. And so we're giving people hope. We're giving people an avenue and resources to break free of that mindset and maybe start just, thinking outside the box again, maybe to dream again. But to do that, I believe the very first thing that you have to wake up to is to change the way that you're thinking, because the way that you think is what has gotten you to the point that you are right now. And if you're not happy with that, then we want to change that.
Well, let me mention this as well. I mean, Blake, you mentioned dream, and I think that we all, whether we're entrepreneurs, financially independent, whether we're working for someone else, we're all dreaming of more. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just a natural human belief that we can have more. We want more. We may want to go on a better vacation. We may want more for our kids. We all want more. And what I love about what you guys are doing with your show is I think that some people that dream of more, that may be in that corporate cycle, they may dream of it. They just may not understand or believe that they can actually have more, right? It would be, I think some of the mindset you talked about, Blake, is it would be great if I had a nice boat. It would be great if I could take my family on this vacation. And it's a dream every year that we have. But you guys are actually showing a blueprint and a pathway to break free from the dream and get into the pursuit of the dream. There's a big difference, right? A pursuit of a dream and just dreaming. What do you think about that? Don't everybody speak at once.
I thought you were talking to Blake. I was waiting for him to like come up with some.
I'm talking whoever wants to jump in first.
Blake, you go ahead.
So no, yeah, that's absolutely true. And so like you said, it's one thing to dream. Those are really just, a dream without action stays a dream. And so I say, when you actually have this dream and then you put actionable steps and have a plan, then it becomes a goal. Like an actual attainable goal. It's not just a dream. I know what I'm going to do to make that happen. And so with specifically what me and Nathan have been able to do, we, a lot of times to start your own business or to become an entrepreneur, man, there's all kinds of risks and all kinds of things that you don't have knowledge about. And so, I know with, me and Brittany, we were like, man, I don't even know where to start. We had some dreams, but those dreams stayed dreams because we didn't have actionable steps. But with this one, this dream became a goal and it became a reality because one, somebody else took on all the risk for us, and then provided us the education and we saw all kinds of successful people around us, and we were able to those steps to achieve. Now, obviously, we haven't achieved all our dreams yet. We take a massive step. We've achieved our first goal, right, and being able to open our own agency. And so we definitely enjoy teaching others how to do the same. And that's, what Nathan said, like we do work in finance. We're passionate about that and how we can help people achieve things that they didn't think was in the cards for them. I'm even more I'm even more passionate about helping people to see that they don't have to wait until they're 70 to become financially independent. It's something that can happen much faster, but they have to get out of the employee mindset first. They have to change the way that they're thinking in order to take the steps to make those dreams a goal.
Well, and I think that you're right there, Blake. I mean, we have an employee mindset. I think we touched on this on the last show about we are the sum of the 5 people that we are surrounded with, right? And if we are in the corporate world, and there's nothing wrong with the corporate world, if you're happy with that, but if you're dreaming of more and you just don't understand the process of how to go out and work independently to reach those goals, this is what you guys are offering. But if I'm working for a company and every day I go in and I'm surrounded by 15 people that kind of do the same thing that I do, but we all have the same mindset, I think for people that maybe have an entrepreneurial spirit, but they're not around the people that are doing entrepreneurial things, that may be the disconnect that they have in believing that they can reach the next step. I mean, if we're not in a circle of people that are talking about entrepreneurial processes and entrepreneurial challenges and entrepreneurial solutions, we can dream of being an entrepreneur and having independence financially and for our family, but we may not know the pathway. And so this is one thing I believe that we're trying to create this show is to have those conversations here so that people that are out there that go, man, I'm dreaming of more. I believe that I have more in me. I believe that I'm capable of more, but I just don't know where to go. That's what we're trying to do with this show, right, Nathan? I'm going to go with you this time.
Yeah, exactly. And, we can't, we could have a show, every day and still not have the kind of intimate conversations that may need to happen from an individual perspective. And so that's what, Blake and I both encourage anybody listening to reach out to us. Our contact information, we love to grab coffee. We love to talk about your situation, ways that we can help, with what we do, or refer you to some other people on the show, depending on what your kind of goals are, dreams are, et cetera. But we, I know Blake might look intimidating, but I'm actually really nice. So I like to connect with people one-on-one, and whatever the case may be. I don't know if Blake's laughing. I can't see him, but hopefully he is. But yeah, exactly. That's our goal. We just have a heart for people. We want to coach people. We want to, one of our buddies, Austin, I can't remember I just asked him this morning too, and I can't remember who quoted it, but there's people that go into business. They want to make a lot of money. They want to just, they have the wrong mindset for success. And there's other people that want to go into business because with money and with success comes influence. And you can use that influence for good. You can use that influence for bad. But, I think the heart behind what Blake and I want to do is just, and have been doing, is the ability to pour into people, to coach people, to, teach them life skills, teach them, help them get from A to B. And we do that somewhat through finance. We do it through, just personal development, personal growth. We just found a vehicle that we feel like we can bring about our own, help our own situations, our own goals, our own dreams. But then, that's what's really great, because you have a lot of business owners in the world, and they have employees, and it's great for the business owner, but there's not a great path for that employee to become a business owner. And so, we want to teach people that next step. So we want to teach people, here's an avenue, here's a pathway that you can take. You don't have to take our pathway. This is what we chose. But we just want to show people that there is a way. And I think I speak for Blake too, that if we have a conversation with somebody that's just tired of what they do, they want to do something else, and it's not necessarily, working with us or kind of taking the avenue that we did, that's great. As long as we can get them to see there's other ways, not to be corny and coin the show, but other ways to make a difference, to change your path, your what you're doing to meet the goals that you have. A lot of great people on this page, on this radio show, from all different aspects of business. And so we just want to be another voice that says, hey, there are other ways. There are other ways that you can succeed. You're not stuck where you're at.
And Lyndon, I thought you had, talking about on that point, as far as the setting, the atmosphere, the culture that people are in every day, if they're around people with the employee mentality that we referenced, it just becomes the norm, right? And it's similar to the small town mentality that we talk about. That it can be poison sometimes, and it's sad that people in certain situations never know that there's actually attainable things outside of their current situation, and they really it's almost like they never even have a real dream. They may have like fleeting moments of stuff, but they haven't seen it enough, or no one's given them quote unquote permission to dream higher than that, because they haven't seen it beyond like these
Right.
people that they think don't even actually exist, that they see on TV or something like that. It's not real to them. I thought you had a great analogy about the hogs that kind of goes into further detail about that.
All right. Well, I will tell that, and it's kind of funny. I'm talking about hogs. I got my Razorbacks back there behind me. But all right. So growing up, everybody that knows me knows I grew up in a small town in Arkansas. I'm just a country boy from Arkansas that moved to Dallas almost 30 years ago. And of course, I lived on a small farm, and we had all the things that a small farm has. Well, there's also in the country, and especially now, they're kind of overrun with feral wild hogs. And back in the day, when I was young and before that, the old timers used to let those hogs run wild so that they didn't have to feed them at home and keep up with them, because hogs can be very destructive and they're hard to keep in a fence. Okay, if you try to pin them up, a hog is really difficult and it's really challenging to keep them in a fence. And so I'm sitting there one day and I had a couple of the wild hogs that we were going to feed out. And I know for some people this sounds completely foreign, but email me, I'll tell you what it means. And the hogs kept getting out. I couldn't keep them in a pen. And I was a teenager at the time. And my grandfather told me, he goes, the problem is, he goes, if you will build a pen of plywood so that the hog cannot see beyond the fence, beyond the containment barrier that you have, he will not even try to get out. The problem is you're using wire and they can see beyond the barrier. They can see beyond their containment area, and they see that where they are is not comfortable. Where they want to be outside of that has freedom. There's more opportunity if they can get beyond that wire. Right? Am I making sense? You guys follow me with that?
Yeah.
So if you put up plywood so they can't see beyond it, they think that where they are is all there is. And so I've got and I told you guys about it. I'm going to put this up real quick. I've got a meme that I found that, let me get this pulled up. So this is a herd of sheep leaving the stall, and they've been doing this for years. The problem is the fence has been removed and all the sheep continue to go and funnel through where the gate is. If you think about it, and you guys have heard this before, the sheeple, right? Talking about people just following along and doing whatever. Our culture has kind of created these boundaries and these fences for us, and they've done so to benefit the people that are creating those boundaries and fences, because we are profitable for them. And I really, again, I don't want to go on this too much, but I'm really excited about y'all's show, because this is something, when I thought about creating the difference, these are the conversations that I want to have. What's the difference? Why are we like these sheep? Why do we get so accustomed to doing things a certain way and forget to think outside the box, or look for different opportunities when the fence is down?
Well, have you guys ever? Sorry.
You may go back to that.
No, Blake looked like he's about to say something, but I cut him off. But I'm going anyway.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I didn't beat me to it.
Took a deep breath. And have you guys ever been driving and you're going somewhere you've been 1,000 times? Maybe it's usually home, and maybe it's a long trip, or you're tired, and you're thinking about other things, and you end up at home and you don't really know how you got there. Like you're on autopilot. Yep. And you all the right exits, you turn, all of a sudden you look up, you're pulling into your driveway. And for driving, that's I guess a helpful thing that your brain figures out. It just kind of takes you home, which is nice. But I think in some sense it's similar in life, where when we've been down a road so many times, it just becomes comfortable. I mean, you can use a bunch of analogies. I mean, you can look at if you guys have had pets, you got dogs that just run back and forth on the fence in the back. They just wear that grass down. They got a trail there that they've just gone over and over and over again. And when you do something a lot, it becomes familiar. And in some areas of life, that's good. Working out, do it a lot, becomes familiar, becomes a habit. But we've also created habits, and habits are created the same way. What is it? You do something for 21 days or something, is what they say. But we can get in a habit, which ends up becoming so deeply ingrained that it becomes a rut. And I think when you look at those sheep, I mean, you're thinking to yourself, well, golly, why won't one of them just kind of, cut in the line? But it is a mindset that says, I get up, I go to work every day. I don't love it, but I like the people that I work with. Okay. Or sometimes it's worse. Sometimes you hate it and you hate the people you work with. But even if it's a good situation, and again, we're not here to, poo-poo your job. We're just here to show people that it's worth at least entertaining, thinking, what's my end game here? What's my goal? What's my, I've been here at this job 5 years. Well, okay,
Well, Nathan, I think you hit it when you said, when you talked about a rut. I think that the people that you both are speaking to and what this show is speaking to are people that feel like they're in a rut. Do you feel like you're in a rut? Because if you feel like you're in a rut, but you just don't know where to turn, this is where you guys are trying to help people see outside the box, expand their thinking, change their mindset, and realize that it doesn't matter what age you are. There's still opportunity out there to do more if you feel like you're in a rut. If you feel like everything's going perfect, why change?
I mean, you can start to change your circumstances within 90 days, and you can literally get it, whether it's working with us or somebody. I mean, you can get a business off the ground in a lot shorter time frame with the advent of social media. And, that can be intimidating for certain people, especially if you're a little bit older, maybe you're not familiar with it. But it's not like, you and I were talking about this before the show, Lyndon. It's not like, I want to start a business. Okay, well, I got to spend thousands of dollars in marketing, and I got to go door to door, and I got to, figure out, I got to take out an ad in the newspaper. I mean, so much of what was done back in the day to start a business is done for free, essentially, with the right kind of mindset, which means that if you're in a rut at 30, you got great opportunity. If you're in a rut at 40, you got great opportunity. If you're rut at 50, 60, 65, I mean, it's all a mindset. Some people retire and they get bored and they go, I'm gonna start a business, and they got the time to do that. And so there's no point where you're beyond derutification. I just made up a word. It's not.
You had like both today.
That's his word was, I don't know.
Passionable and derutification. I'm writing that down.
I like mine better. Sorry, Blake. But anyways,
this was on purpose.
That's true. And I think that's another deterrent, is especially go back to the sheep. It's such a good analogy. At some point, it's almost like somebody's got to break the ice. When you're in a room of new people and they're, hey, if you're new here, let us know you're here. Like how they do that at church, and it's super awkward, and they're always waiting for the first person to stand up, and then obviously everybody does it. Or the worst was when they tried to get you to come down and repent every night at church, and no one ever did until one person did, and then everyone realized that they should probably repent, and it was every week. That's a whole other story. But the problem is most people don't see that one person. We hang out with people that are kind of doing the same things we are. So Blake and I try to surround ourselves with people that are more successful than us. We read people that are more successful than us. We have, Blake, even before myself, I was kind of in a, I don't know if rut's the right word, but just, I didn't have the vision. Blake's always had the vision a lot before I did. And so you got to surround yourself with the right kind of people that are willing to say, hey, I ain't going through the gate any longer. We've been doing that for 10 years. There's the destination. I'm going to go this way. And once that happens, then that's that initial step. And I there's just so much opportunity to mitigate a lot of risk that is inherently comes to the forefront of our mind when we think about going into business. That is just not, it's not as risky as it used to be, honestly. I mean, depending on what you're doing, I mean, obviously don't just go throw money into something ridiculous, but there's just a ton of opportunity. And the first step is just that little switch that says, there's got to be something else.
I think when we're talking about a rut, it's basically, it's people that have stopped living on purpose. They're not living on purpose anymore.
Yeah.
Because look at those sheep. Those sheep literally may not even, I mean, some of those sheep are right next to a fence that didn't exist anymore, right? But they probably don't even see it. All they see is the rear end of the sheep right in front of it, and they're just following that rear end in a line. And you could say they're in a rut because all these, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You wake up and get in rush hour traffic, and you got closed vision. All you're doing is following the rear end of that car into the job, and you stop living on purpose anymore. And I think that's what we're just trying to wake up people up to. Like you say, some people maybe, I'm so happy that they're happy and that they're doing what they want to. But I know that there's millions and millions of people in this country that are following the rear end of a car to work, doing something that they don't like for money that is not enough, for not what they dreamed of, for a boss that they don't like and workers that they don't like. They're not happy in any way, shape, or form. And they are free and they don't know it. Like we are free to do as we choose, but it's almost as if, when we have all these different responsibilities and burdens, and it's like, what in the world else would I do? And then they just don't think about it. Oh, sorry, I got to pay the mortgage this month, or got to support this. And they just keep on going, head down, looking at the rear end of a sheep going through the fence. And, we're just here to tell you, hey, you're free. Like, wake up. Like, you are free to go off and take some risks and to become alive again and start living on purpose again. There's in Braveheart, at the very beginning, the dad in a dream, after he's already passed away, says to young William Wallace, he says, your heart is free. Have the courage to follow it. And I think our dreams and our courage get suppressed as we go into this world. And, for the last 60, 70 years, the jobs, this whole system has become this way, when for the last thousands and thousands of years, it hadn't been this way. People think this is the only way it is, and they accept that, and they're going to go to work for 30 years and honestly used to say and retire. A lot of people aren't going to retire. They're going to do some other thing to pay the bills until the day that they die, and look back and they're sitting in their deathbed and have all kinds of regrets. Now, I paint that nightmare to say it doesn't have to be that way. You are free now. Have the courage to follow your heart now. Have the courage to try something new now. What in the world do you have to lose if that rut is describing you right now?
Yeah, we live in a country that is, if you look at the economy and the opportunity in our country, it's the greatest opportunity that has ever existed since the dawn of man. And the industry, the entrepreneurial landscape is there for the taking, and you see people doing it all the time. I mean, look at a guy like Elon Musk, who he has his hands in so many different areas. I mean, it's all technology. I mean, the Tesla is like the least impressive thing that he's done. He has the space shuttle launch that he did that lands vertically. Like, NASA's been sending rockets off and then recovering them in the ocean. And this guy builds a rocket. It's, because he didn't use the government. It's a whole other story too. He builds a rocket that takes off, and then it just comes back down. I mean, it's so science fiction. He's got these things that, will drill through. I think it's like it'll drill through a mountainside and lay brick at the same time. So it's basically building the tunnel as it goes, and it goes like a foot a second or something. Like, it's super quick. And there is so much room for innovation, for just thinking outside the box. I mean, seriously, we could, and I think, Blake, we talked about this before, we want to spend some time, over the coming weeks, just diving into some of these success stories, having some people. I don't think we're going to have Elon Musk on the show. That'd be great. But
he called the other day and wanted to know if he could be on.
Did he? Okay, good. Well, yeah, we're supposed to have lunch tomorrow, so I'll see if I can get him. But we want to go into these success stories and kind of, having people on the show, and, what kind of flipped in your head. Because it's one thing, for you to hear our perspective, but it's good to hear other people's perspective. What made, what they're doing. And it may not be the same field that Blake and I are in, but just different people that said, hey, I see a need. I want to meet it. I'm tired of, making money for someone else when I can do that for myself, and I can help empower people to do the same. So I think that's something that's really on our hearts that we want to kind of cover over the coming weeks.
So, and I agree. I want to put up a quote that I just pulled off, and I think Nathan, a few shows back, you actually attempted to quote this at least.
I attempt to quote it. It's more of a paraphrase quoting.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I've got the real one now, and I want to get. I mean, how does this apply to what we're talking about? If you replace the word safety with security. Okay, so those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary security deserve neither liberty nor security. Is that where we are in today's world, as far as maybe being caught in the corporate trap and knowing that I get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every week or whatever it is? I know that my taxes are taken out. Everything is done for me. All I have to do is show up and work 9 to 5 every day. But I'm struggling because I feel like I'm in a rut and I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that I've been kind of bridled, and
Yeah.
I'm not free to exercise my creativity or a lot of things that I feel like are my talents. What do you think about that?
Well, I think safety or security works, honestly, because uh, people, whether you feel secure, that's part of it. But again, when you don't want to take a risk on something, it's because, well, I've got this in order. This is safe. Um, I have my benefits. I've got good pay. I've got
Say rut again real quick.
rut.
Yeah, I'm just because Adam Harden left us a message and say if he had a nickel for every time he heard. I'm just helping Adam get rich. He's struggling.
He's doing okay, I think.
Yeah.
Tell him I'll send him a Starbucks gift card. Hope we can get a cup of coffee. Rut. Now you lost my train of thought. So safety, security kind of goes hand in hand, right? Security is, safety is like you're wanting to be safe. You're wanting to be, not take risks. And then when you feel that you're in a place where you can just kind of settle down, okay, I'm secure. I've got my benefits. I've got decent pay. And the funny thing is, some people will not take the risk. They don't have any benefits. They don't have decent pay. They're getting screwed. They're getting taken advantage of. And, this quote, I'm going to leave it in the kind of the purview of what we're talking about today. But this quote speaks to me on much broader terms of the whole environment of our country right now. But we won't go there. But yeah, to your point, I think it's very limiting. Like every time, look at Braveheart, for instance, or look at Blake's, I guess not one of, but your favorite movie, Rocky. Anytime somebody achieves something great, they have to risk a little bit, right? So the first thing that you're achieving is, okay, you start a family, right? And that's risky. You get married, that's risky. You have kids, that can be risky. There's so many, our Blake and I's son are about a week apart. They're roughly 7.5 months old. And you just think of all the things that can go wrong, right? And as you know, we've been extremely blessed, 2 healthy sons, and again, but there's a risk there. But you want to do that because the reward is great, right? The reward of having children and offspring, and finding somebody to live your life with. We both have wonderful wives, so we take these risks, and that's a good thing because now we have this family. We got to take care of them, so we got to get a job. Okay, well, we need to have insurance. Okay, so we get benefits. Okay, well, we can't work forever, so we want to go on vacation some. So this job we have offers vacation, and we're going down this path of taking little risks that are necessary to fulfill our duty to take care of our family. Whether this is not just men, women, everybody. Whether you're single parent, single father, single mother, when you're taking those risks to take care of your family, I mean, you're a winner. You're doing the right thing. You're doing what you should. The problem is we take these little risks, but then we stop because it's almost like, okay, I can breathe. I'm paying my bills. I'm, we got a good place to live, roof over our head. And again, stop and be grateful. Always be grateful for where you're at and where you've come from. But there's always room to get to go further. And it's not because you're greedy. It's not because I got to have more. I got to be like this. It's because you have the ability to do it. So why stop? Why limit? It's like saying, we see how many athletes do we see that just, wasted their talent? Oh my gosh, so-and-so would have been the greatest athlete ever, but he got injured or he screwed up off the field or whatever the case may be. We have so much potential in our lives. And we just limit it. We just sit there and we just, we get comfortable. We get complacent. We get in a rut, Adam. We're in a dadgum rut.
Well, we got to de-rutify. Let me ask a question. Let me ask a question real quick, Blake.
Yeah.
So you talk about taking risk, and obviously we all know that, but everything we do is a risk. I mean, I told the story a few weeks ago about my mother that worked for 19 and a half years for a corporation only to be laid off so they didn't have to pay full retirement. So she was taking a risk for 20 years that they were going to keep her. right? She's going to do all this work for this company, and everything that she put into it was going to pay off. That's no different than an entrepreneur. But let me ask this question, because I think it's really important. And me being around this for almost 20 years now, are we afraid to take those risks? Because if I leave a corporate job, if I leave a 9 to 5, and I take the risk, and I'm married and I have children, they by default take that risk as well. Is that a hindrance? And how does what you guys do mitigate that a little bit?
Well, I'll say this. So the kind of going piggybacking off what Nathan was talking about also, when you think about anything meaningful that you achieve in life, the fulfillment that you have from that a lot of times is in direct proportion to what the possible downside was, what the possible risk was, right? If why does it, you win the Super Bowl, you win the national championship, and everyone is, I mean, happy tears and grown men kissing each other and confetti, and I mean, it just looked like the most joyful occasion ever. But why is that so joyful? On the other side, there's a whole lot of other people with sad tears in agony, and those things are in they're opposites of each other, because if they didn't have that joy, they would have had agony, and it was a risk, right? And that goes along with the whole season about what you put into it. But on this quote, the tragic thing to me about this whole security thing is that it's all a lie, and that's tragic, because people think that security actually exists in this life. Why did your mom? She stayed there for 20 years because she thought it was the opposite of risk. She thought it was secure, when in actuality, she was taking a risk that somebody else was going to do the right thing and reward her for being loyal for 20 years. And they did the opposite. So it turned into a risk. And so, man, there is nothing great, like Nathan said, that you're going to do in this life without a little bit of risk. But to answer your question, Lyndon, and I believe that I am not averted to risk. I probably have too much of a high tolerance for risk. But
amen to that. Amen.
That's why you had so many surgeries.
Do what?
I said that's why you had so many surgeries. Yeah,
that's true. I was going to say, everyone says that about me too. I would have been the greatest athlete in the world if I hadn't been injured so much. I hear that all the time. But in terms of your question about how we mitigate that. So what are the risks when you're talking about going out and starting your own thing, going into business for yourself, to be specific here? There's risk. There's, probably the most, when we talk about security, most of the time people are talking about money, right? Am I going to put my family in a situation where we're about to be homeless, where I'm going to struggle to pay the mortgage, where I'm going to struggle to put food on the table? How much money do I have saved up? How long can I afford to take this risk? The great thing about what me and Nathan found, we had somebody else take on that risk for us. And so we basically, in terms of the biggest risk, which is money. And so we talk about money. What's the idea? You better have a great idea. You better, find a need and fill it in a massive way. And then time. Me and Nathan were able to start this out part-time, which is a tremendous blessing, that you don't have to leave the security of your own income to go out and start your business. And most people don't know that even exists. And so mitigate the risk of money. You don't have to put up any money down. The idea is already in place for you. You just kind of come and learn it. And then the time, you get to start off part-time and gradually replace your income. So specifically, to answer your question specifically, that's how we were able to not take on as much risk as it usually takes to become an entrepreneur. And that's why we see all kinds of people having success all around us with this model.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I can piggyback that real quick, Lyndon, have you guys seen the movie The Founder, about the history of McDonald's?
Yes.
No.
On Netflix. Despite the fact that Ray Kroc might be a complete ass, I'm not sure, in real life, according to the movie, he had even the foundations of McDonald's were started with a system. So McDonald's, if I recall, I think it was 1955, and there were two brothers, right? The McDonald's brothers. I don't remember their names, unfortunately, but they had this one location in California. People would walk up to it, and Ray Kroc was, I think he sold mixers or something like that, if I recall. door to door, business to business, just a drain. I mean, he wasn't successful, and he goes to this only McDonald's, and he sees that these guys have created this system that allows for food to be cooked, ready to order, hot, assembled in this very Henry Ford like assembly line type of thing. And he orders his food. He's like, I don't even think they called it. I think it's called a hamburger and fries is what you had. He orders it. They turn around. It's there hot, and he's amazed by it. Right? He's just like, what is going on? This is incredible. And so he sees the potential there. And I'm not going to go through the rest of the movie, but obviously, McDonald's becomes a franchise model. There's, they have all these people buying into their franchises. But even McDonald's, with the success that it has and its billionth hamburger that they keep reminding us about every single day, there was a system, a structure in place. And I think that's what you're looking for. If you want to do something, there are a lot of structures in place that are going to help you be successful. That's what's been the backbone of our success, right? So it's not like Ray Kroc maybe perfected that system, but he didn't invent it. He saw the potential. So, there's avenues, there's areas to go into business, whatever you're passionate about. But you got to look for that system. The system is the key, because that's what's going to mitigate the risk. If it's a good system, don't just willy-nilly go do anything. But I think that's what people don't understand, is that there's a lot of great people that have come before us that have really done the legwork, that have really done the drudgery of cutting the pathway. You go to this forest, right, that has, or this development. Well, what they got to do first? Well, they got to clear it out. They got to change the soil. They've got to level the foundation. They got to do the surveying is what I'm trying to think of. And there's people in the business world that have done so much of that for us, and we've just got to find the right plot of land to build our house on, essentially. And that's what's available. That's what Blake and I have found, and it's available for so many people. You just got to realize that it's there, right? It's there and it's available. I hope that made sense.
It does, because I think a lot of people are afraid to take that step because they don't feel like they're going to have the right support system. That goes back to what we were talking about before, Blake, about being surrounded with other employees. You can't reach out to them to get their help in building a business because they're employees just like you. And if you've spent 5, 10, 15 years going to work every day in that circle, you probably haven't created a circle of resources that are entrepreneurial minded, right? And so it is scary to come out and start. I mean, I've done this since I was 24 years old. And I've failed more than I've succeeded. And most of my failures have been because I didn't have a resource to go to help me understand or put in place a process that would have helped me get to the next level. So at some point in time, you just kind of go, okay, well, you count your losses and you move on. And I've tried to go back to corporate a couple of times. Didn't work out for me. I just don't have, I don't have that mindset. I just can't. I'm not a corporate. The greatest thing about being an entrepreneur and running my own business is I'm not going to fire me. That's just the way it is. I have that security every day. I know that I've got a job. And I say that tongue in cheek, but because you have to produce. But I want to put up another, and you guys, I think, probably saw this meme yesterday, or the one that I created. Success favors the bold. It doesn't matter whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're an employee. If you're not bold in what you're doing, I feel like you're never gonna reach potential. And Blake, I've known you for, oh my God, I don't know how many years now.
45 or 50.
What are your thoughts on that statement? Success favors the bold, because I know, Blake, that you're bold in what you do. You've been bold in everything that you've ever attempted.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I obviously 100% agree with that. I don't. It's just for me, it's just the thought, and I still coach football, and I'll tell my players this, that if like most of the people that you're going to be surrounded with, like if you're surrounded by a lot of people, most of the time they're going to be average, which means that most of the time they are just going to they're going to be the sheep, right? And so that if everyone else is the sheep and you want to be successful and the flow of those sheep are not successful, then it is bold to step outside of that line, right? It's bold to be the first person to go where there is no fence, even when it doesn't really seem all that bold. It just seems like common sense. That's the thing about being bold. Sometimes being bold is just having common sense when no one else does. And so, but I always tell them, you realize, like, if you really want to be successful in life, most of the people around you need to think you're crazy because everyone else is just going with the flow. And so honestly, that's another way, maybe that's a more bold way to say you got to be bold, is that most people need to think that you're going to be crazy. But I mean, if you really want to achieve something high, that's not common, right? Most people are common and they're not going to achieve anything high. So you have to have the courage to step outside and say, in football terms, when everyone else is going in, he needs to be out, running, working on drills. When everyone else is out partying, he needs to be home before watching film, right? That seems crazy. Why don't you just go and have a little fun and do what everyone else is doing? Those people aren't going to be successful. So you absolutely have to step out and be bold and have a vision for what you actually want long-term. Most people have a short-term vision. Why? Because their short vision is a sheep's ass. It's right in front of them that they can't see around. And if they just turn to the right, they could be bold, have a little common sense, and walk through the area in the pasture where there is no fence, because they're free and they don't even know it.
I'm writing down all of this crazy crap that we've talked about today. The new words and the sheep's ass.
Hey,
that's a new one.
Will you put the meme back up there? The sheep picture.
If I can find it, I think I took it down, Nathan.
That's okay. Well, I was just thinking as Blake was talking about that. If you're on the fence line where the fence line used to be, and you want to go a different route, it's just a matter of turning right. But if you're further up in the herd, you got to work through quite a bunch of sheep to be able to get out and not be funneled into the gate, right? And that's one of the things that frustrates me, when I'm working with people, is they're taking advice from people that are good people, nothing, again, not hating on anybody, but that just have no desire to do anything different. They're taking advice from the same people that are in the same circumstance. Like the sheep turns, well, which way should we go? Oh, this way. And, well, which way should we go? Well, this way. And they just keep herding in. So sometimes, to Blake's point, you've got to intentionally surround yourself with different people. Not that, not better, but people that have different qualities, the qualities that you're looking for, which is a business mindset. And you got to pass a lot of sheep's asses to get there, unfortunately. And it can be different. It can be difficult. But if you keep moving in the same way, you're going to be funneled right in to that same gate that you've always been into, and you're going to pass every opportunity that has come before you.
So, and I agree with that. I want to go back to what Blake was talking when he talks about the players. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot on the different shows that we've had is transforming the acceptable into the exceptional. And I think in order for us to be able to do that, sometimes we have to start looking around us and see who is being exceptional and start imitating what they're doing. And I think we'll see a lot of that boldness. We'll see that sheep step across the line and, try to be the first one back to the barn or wherever they were headed. But I think the rut that we're talking about, I think the people that I know for me, when I felt like I've been in a rut, when I really evaluated where I was, it's because I was doing an acceptable job. I was doing enough to get enough, right? I was doing enough to get enough. That's acceptable, but I was bored. I was completely bored, and I wasn't happy with myself because deep down I felt like I wasn't accomplishing as much as I was capable of. And excuse me, when that happens, I start looking for the challenges of those people that are doing an acceptable job. And Blake, I know that you and I have been in the weight room together quite a few times. I always kicked your butt, but anyway, I admire your effort. But we pushed.
It's been a while now. It's been a while now. If you want to get back into it,
Dude, I'm too broke. I'm broke down. I wish I could. But we did challenge each other back in the day. I mean, even when I was coaching and you were playing, we challenged each other on the field. We had a good time. We had a good time pushing each other, and that's one of the things that I really cherish about my time coaching and coaching at Dallas Christian. Not only the relationships I made, but just the fun that we had by challenging each other to be better than what we were. And there's something about feeling alive when you're in that circle of people that's always challenging you and doing it from a fun perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would agree with that. And that's why I always, on that point, one of my favorite quotes, and I've shared this before, is, when you're thinking about what you want to do, don't think about what the world needs or what, whatever need you can feel. Think about what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is men who are fully alive. And
Right.
So when I think about it, even with this, I still love, and I'm still doing that. And I love those relationships. I love the relationships that I've had from the past. And I love the relationship that I have now. That's what it makes me come alive. Do I make any money off that? No. Right. So, but I am creating something that gives me the freedom to go out and do things that make me come alive. And I don't have to worry about getting paid for what's making me come alive, because I have, financial freedom streaming in from another pipeline. There's a lot of times people say, hey, just figure out what you're passionate about and go do that thing. When actually that can be horrible advice. There's a guy, a guy that's very successful in our business. He's a great handball player. He said, you know what, if I would have followed that advice, I would have tried to become professional handball and I'd be broke right now. So he created a very great pipeline of income though. And he goes and plays handball for free because he loves playing handball. But I know that's probably not the point where you were taking that though. But a lot of this is any good business. I was fortunate enough for my grandpa to teach me this growing up. All good business is great relationships. All great business is great relationships. And if you're somebody that and invest in people and empower people and develop these relationships, then you have the ability to be successful in business. And that's what I love about what we do, that I know the more people I invest in, the more people's lives I make better, the better quality of life I have for me and my family. It's just a great way to live your life. And you're going out and seeking, how many people's lives can I make better today? And how many relationships can I foster today? It becomes because I believe that's what God created us to do, is what a lot of this goes back to. And he created us for relationships. He created us for community, and that just, it makes you come alive. And I love that.
I agree. And it goes back to the Zig Ziglar quote, if you give them what they want, you'll get what you want. And I think if we focus on serving and get into that, I mean, Blake, I totally understand what you're talking about in the coaching aspect. We figured it up one day. Coach Felker and I were in there, and all the hours that a coach puts in, you make about $1 an hour, maybe. And sometimes, and if you're doing really good and you get into the playoffs and you go pretty deep, which at DC, that's kind of common. I think you end up in a negative. You're probably paying them to coach. But it is
drastically down, working for free, doesn't it?
It is, but it's still rewarding, and it's serving, and you're helping those young. I mean, some of the greatest relationships that I have to this day are with the guys that I have coached that are now adults. Some of them in their 40s, which that's kind of crazy to me. You're pushing that, aren't you, Blake? Pretty close. But
it's not,
they become professionals, just like Adam Harden that commented. I mean, watching you guys, coaching you and watching you develop and become professionals that you are, the things that you learned through sports and how you're applying that today. We're going to be doing a different show on that at some point, but I'm still being rewarded for that time that I spent with you guys. And then we get to come on and partner up in this capacity to deliver messages that we hope can help and change people's lives. We got about 4 minutes left. So I want you two to talk a little bit and get ready to close us out about how people can get in touch with you if they're interested in finding a way to kind of break free from what they've been doing, create a business, as Blake said, that you don't have to give up your current job right now until maybe you replace that income and you have that security. So Nathan, I'm going to let you start first. Since you're long-winded, I will cut you off when I need to so that Blake can finish this up. And I mean that in a loving way.
It sounded loving, so that's good. I was really taking that. Just for that, I'm done. I'm going to say two. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go for 45 minutes. Now you made me forget the question, but oh yeah. So, Blake and I we like building relationships. We love talking to people offline. I think our contact information is on the difference page, and it usually scrolls up here. But for me, the way that we operate is about as little risk as you can take. And we talk about people being afraid to take a risk. Well, if you can take a small risk and still be successful, well, that's definitely the pathway to go. And so, having the foundations that are around us, the people that have come before us and what we do in the financial world, it's really a blessing, honestly. And we just want to share that with people. We want to take people down the journey that we're on. Like Blake said earlier, we're not where we want to be yet. We haven't, as you can see, we're still doing a radio show. When I retire, I may do a radio show when I retire. I don't know. But we're not where we want to be. But we have taken that step to move in that direction. And, so we can always share how was that mindset for us? What was the trigger that made us, go from, hey, this is what I was doing, this is what I want to do, and start tasting that success individually. And that's a conversation that we want to have one-on-one with people, because we can go in here, and I think over the next coming weeks we'll talk more about kind of the details. What does it look like? What's the day-to-day mindset of an entrepreneur, of someone that's successful in business? What type of people should you be patterning yourself after? But as far as individuals, man, we just love to have those conversations one-on-one and kind of share more details about what we do, how we've been successful, and then say, hey, is this a good fit for you? Or maybe, recommend them to some other show that we have. We're happy to do that. We just want to see people break free. And I think Blake will probably echo something along those lines.
Yeah. So I would say, it's funny because we've been talking about a risk, and and this is not, it's not a compliment nor derogatory, but I'm probably the most risk tolerant person that I know. But to start this, I basically took zero risk. And I always say, one of the things my dad drilled into me growing up: anytime you're making a big decision in life, son, think about this. What's the risk reward ratio? And so with what me and Nathan are doing, it's as close to zero risk as you can get, and the reward is limitless. And so and that's why it almost seems too good to be true to people. But I mean, we're living testimonies that it is true. And so you have an opportunity to be an entrepreneur and take zero risk, have limitless reward. To me, it was a no-brainer. So me and my wife, we have our own page going, Blake and Brittany Timmons, now on Facebook. We'd love for you to go like our page. We're trying to provide value to as many people as possible there, and we're going to start doing some live videos. So go follow us there. That'd be awesome. And we'd love to just start conversations with you and develop some relationships to all our listeners out there.
All right. Rebranding. When's our next show? Tell everybody when our next show is.
Same bat time, same bat channel next week.
It's 11
next
a.m.
week.
on Wednesdays.
11 a.m. on Wednesday. We will be back with a new brand, with a brand new brand. And so we appreciate everybody for tuning in today. If you want to know more, these guys are great business consultants as far as getting started. Get in touch with them, talk to them one-on-one. They'd love to talk to you. And it may not be what they're doing, but they're happy to help, because I know that they both love and enjoy helping people and helping see people do better. So with that, we're going to close out, and we'll see everybody here next week.
Thanks, guys.